Hey, I know you won't hear this until you land.
Hello, welcome to Forza Horizon 6. The new game is out and has been for a while at this point, and because learning lessons from the past is for suckers, it's time for me to dip my toes once more into the piranha-infested waters of popular game review to check it out. This isn't my first time in the Forza ecosystem. I got Horizon 4 a little while after it came out, and though I skipped 5 feeling that it was too similar to its predecessor, I did get Motorsport, which, we're not going to talk about that. Still, the bug has bitten me once more, and never one to let a mistake be just a small one, I spent $120 on the premium edition of Horizon 6. On Steam, I might add, see the aforementioned Motorsport fiasco. The new game is set in Japan, something I seem to recall a lot of noise from the fans for during my time in earlier titles, but otherwise if you've played a Horizon game, this won't be anything new to you. The open world map, the big car list, the destruction of property, that's all still there. I seem to recall having become pretty comfortable with Horizon 4 after a while, but it's been a long time since I've played and my driving has somewhat oxidized over time. I'm rusty, and I apologize in advance if any of that comes through in the footage. For now, there's plenty more intro where this stuff came from. I'll see you on the other side.
That wraps up events for tonight at the festival. If you're out in the crowd wondering if you're legend material, the Horizon qualifiers are starting soon.
The game has me customize my character and choose a nickname, though I don't really do the former. Default man here will do fine for me. Maybe I'll come back to it later, maybe I won't. We have our first meeting with the game's two main voiceover characters in the flesh, but this is a review, not a gameplay video, so I'm not going to include the majority of what they go on about. In summary, it's a plot device to introduce various game features. I'm prompted to choose a car, though it turns out I'll be given all three anyway, and to customize my license plate, which I'll eventually remove altogether because some user-made liveries have sponsors or other details that it covers up. A drive into Tokyo City gives me an opportunity to show off my wheelmanship, and as we exit the city into a loading screen, we get a taste of that cheesy, self-congratulatory dialogue that I criticized in the Crew Motorfest a few years ago.
We need you to make sure it's fun. Make sure it's Horizon.
Horizon 6 is certainly guilty of some cheese. It's not as bad as Motorfest by any stretch, and I'm told it's not as bad as Horizon 5 either, but it's certainly there. It'll get better as you progress, as most of the voice lines outside of the tutorial are triggered by doing something for the first time. Anyway, this is the first of several races the game will guide me through on the way to unlocking the festival site, which I believe is the effective end of the tutorial. Basically, to qualify, as if there were any way not to in a Forza game, we need to complete a handful of events and a Horizon showcase on our way to earning our first wristband, which is the game's way of marking progression. With each new wristband comes more races, more stunts, and a new showcase to unlock. I'll plot a route to the first dirt race for now, eliciting what I think is a rare bit of sarcasm from our co-narrator May.
Our cars are too clean. Has to be the airfield trail dirt race then.
On the way, I accidentally demonstrate my first PR stunt of the game, a speed trap, and then it's on to the race, which I lose resoundingly but still complete, because this is Forza. Like my mother always said, participation trophies are trophies too. I am forcibly recommended one of the two remaining qualifier races, in which I do even worse. This unlocks some rewards, just small change in our Horizon game, and then it's on to the next one.
We're gonna be busy, so let's get back to the qualifiers, shall we?
This third race is a cross-country race, in which I'll pilot Jimmy, what, that's his name, over some bumpy off-road terrain, presumably on my way to the hospital for a fractured spine. With that done, the final step on the road to the first showcase event and the end of the tutorial is an introduction to Time Attack, which is really just circuit racing done in freeroam. This is new to this game, and it's a nice way to try out a new car without having to bother loading into a race. Jimmy is perhaps not the car for this, on the other hand he does handle good. Finally, it's on to the first showcase, in this case the Horizon Invitational, which manufactures some drama.
Jordy, where are you? They're closing the gate like now.
Running late. I'm sorry, I'll explain later. Just go, we can make it!
Before putting me behind the wheel again for what can only really be called a drive, it's not a race because there are no positions. We enter the festival for the second time, greeted by another cutscene, and it's at this point in writing the script that I noticed the achievements and my FPS counter were recorded as part of the game window. I've filmed a good chunk of footage for the video now, so... well, let's pretend I did it on purpose to show how the game performs or something. This does give me an opportunity to mention something that I've noticed, though, which is that for some reason the cutscenes perform much worse than the actual gameplay, being limited to a much choppier 30 FPS. Don't know why. With the final backhanded compliment...
Are all your races that exciting?
We're finally through the tutorial, and as I unlock my first wristband, I can ditch this pesky chronological order framing device and start actually reviewing the game. So, first impressions, pretty decent? The handling is what you'd expect from a Horizon game, somewhat arcadey but very natural, with all the cars having their own perceptible differences in feel. I believe the physics in this game lean more toward the motorsport side of things, slightly more sim than arcade compared to earlier Horizons, but I don't really notice since it's been so long. For some reason, I find that cars drive better with assists turned off. Most likely, I just need them this way to re-engage my muscle memory, having gone without them in previous Forza games as well. All in all, Horizon 6's handling feels good to me. Your mileage may vary though. I broke my controller one day and had to spend a few days involuntarily testing it out on my old one. With that controller, an old and abused Xbox One gamepad, I found it to be sloppy and vague, nearly uncontrollable for precision driving. That controller has quite a bit of stick drift and a tendency to randomly disconnect despite being plugged in, so it's hard to blame Forza for this. Still, you shouldn't let your controller's cable get tangled up with your phones, or it might fall off your desk and break. Or, if your response to that advice is what mine would be, to ignore it, then one day your controller's cable will get tangled up with your phones and it will fall off of your desk and break and you'll regret it. The graphics and scenery are nice too, although I'm not sure how much of an improvement they are from previous titles. The lighting and colors look good, at least to my eye, though I think the game tends to look better in both cutscenes and actual gameplay than it does in photo mode. Like in my favorite game, BeamNG, blurring the background seems to smear the edges of whatever's in the foreground as well, so no matter what you do, still photos tend to come out looking a little flat. The map is huge, as you'd expect, and there's a nice level of variety in both locations and activities. It covers everything from beaches to rivers to towns to forests to forests to forests to forests to forests to forests to forests. Tucked away beneath the great swaths of forest lies the hulking urban maze of Tokyo City. Tokyo's massive. It's a little too massive, actually. Not that I've ever been, but I live in America, the land of supersized everything, and these roads would be comical even here. I think it'd be nice to have a few more of these tight alleyways to race unsuitably fast cars through, but that's probably the sacrifice the developers had to make for the sake of the game's target audience, the masses who they have assumed have no idea how to handle a motor vehicle and need all the space they can get. The northern part of the map is permanently blanketed in snow, with a ski resort and, notably, this weird road carved into a corridor in a massive snowbank. The in-game season changes every week, bringing further variety. You'll get even more snow in the winter. Dotted throughout the map are destructible collectibles, regional mascots that give money, and bonus boards that give experience. The latter are occasionally in interesting, hard-to-reach places, but there's always some kind of natural ramp to launch your car at them. There are also races of all kinds, PR stunts of a few other kinds, barn finds and treasure cars, which we'll come back to later, car meets, cars for sale, and various story locations. The stories, grouped by series and hosted by various characters, all follow a similar format. Here's one. Our host, Larry Chin, is a photographer in need of a little help getting some shots for a prestigious auto magazine. In practice, Larry sits in my passenger seat and does nothing while I drive him around the map to various destinations. Larry then hands over his camera so that I can do all his work for him, and then packs up the resulting photos and sends them off to the editor so he can take the credit. Pretty clever scheme he's got going on here. I respect it. I find the stories to be one of the blander parts of the game, though it doesn't help that I really just hate NPC chatter. Still, you've got to do them because they give points toward one of the game's two parallel categories of progress, Discover Japan. You can find that in the collection journal in the first page of the menu. The other one, if you're wondering, is basically just the wristband progress again, though like its twin category, you'll get rewards for various minor milestones. Leveling up in Discover Japan is how you unlock both player houses and barn finds. Barn finds always go the same way. We drive a little, find a suspicious little dirt path branching off of a main road. I wonder where this could be taking us. Follow it to some little garage in the middle of nowhere, and are promptly joined by May and the game's mechanic character Yuji. May says something like,
You should record this. Hey, wanna get some footage? We should definitely capture it. Got your camera? Get a camera to record. You'll be glad you did. Get your cam ready.
Our protagonist pulls a camera out of an unexpected place, then has an apparent medical episode while recording B-roll of some ruined vehicle covered in a tarp and several new species of bacteria. Might want to get that checked out. We then exit the abandoned garage and wait a while as Yuji fixes the car. Eventually we'll have access to whatever we found.
I'll let you know when it's ready.
When you enter a new region for the first time, though I don't think I have footage of this, you're given a photo clue to lead you to a treasure car. Find the car in the photo and it's yours. I really enjoy the minor challenge of trying to find whatever landmark is in each photo, and it's a shame there are only 9 of them. Scattered throughout the world are Aftermarket cars, though despite the implication of that name, some are stock and some are modified. These all offer a discount on their total parts value, which is to say, buying one in the world like this will always be cheaper than buying new and applying the same upgrades yourself, but the modified ones may still be more expensive than the car would have been brand new. I'm glad I take as long as I do to make videos because my opinion on these has changed over time. I like the idea, but I feel that it's a little too repetitive. There are only so many locations on the map that you'll find them, and seemingly only a handful of cars in rotation. There's one spot near the Legend Island Festival site, unlocked with the final showcase event, that almost always has exactly the same 2 cars, a Volkswagen Beetle Rallycross car and a 2015 McLaren 570S. I already own one, the other is modified and is cheaper new from the Autoshow. Speaking of the Autoshow, that's where you go to buy new cars. Not all cars are available here, of course. A good chunk of the game's car list is exclusive to some gameplay mechanic or another. The Autoshow can get pretty expensive too. The most expensive car in the game costs 70 million credits, although I get a slight discount here because one of the player houses I own gives a 5% discount. You see this down here about buying car vouchers? This game, $70 to $100 on Steam depending on the edition, has microtransactions. For about $1 each, you can buy car vouchers used to purchase any car without using credits, although you cannot gift or sell any cars purchased this way. I didn't spend my money on this junk, by the way. A free voucher is included with the welcome pack, which I have because I bought the game's premium edition, though it's also in the deluxe edition. I spent my only free voucher for the sake of demonstrating how they work, and I do not intend to buy more. I've already spent enough, thanks. If you don't have any car vouchers, are short on credits, or missed out on an exclusive car somewhere, there's the auction house. These are cars sold by real players, bought by real players, and consequently it is a real mixed bag. Often you'll go into the auction house to save some money on a car, only for somebody to come along and buy it out from under your nose for more than the car costs new. Other times, perhaps, you'll buy a car only to discover that its skill tree unlocks some other exclusive car, and guess what? The previous owner already did that, and you can't have it. The real advantage of the auction house, I think, is that its maximum buyout is limited to 20 million credits. If you don't have any vouchers and you want the Ferrari P4, you'll get quite a bargain here. It's a bargain you'll want to take, too. Unlike previous Horizon games, which people have often criticized for the way the games tended to throw money and cars at you like they grew on trees, this one is... well, it's still a Horizon game, and you're not going to be hurting for cash, but things are a little slower here. I think I'm in the minority, at least among the sort of people who review games on the internet, because I don't like this change. For me, I have always viewed Horizon, and Forza in general, as largely a sandbox game about collecting cars and doing whatever you want with them. I would never complain about getting more money because I am an accumulator and a hoarder. My goal in a Forza game is to own every car. I think as the car list expands, which it has, I believe every Horizon game has launched with more cars than the last, it gets more and more expensive to buy them all. A normal race in this game will earn between 20 and 30,000 credits. What's that in the face of a car that costs 70 million, let alone a full list of many hundreds of other cars? It feels weird to have to think about earning money in a Horizon game, even if there are, ways to get around most of the grind. There were, anyway. As of a few days before my editing pass on this script, the devs reset the credits of anyone who used such a method, myself included. They also did this for people who used some bug with the Eliminator game mode to get a bunch of money, which makes a bit more sense, but oh well, it's Forza, it's still not going to hurt much in the long run. Keep in mind, by the way, that this is the perspective of someone who gets extra money per race because of the VIP membership included in the Premium Edition. Money making will be even slower if you don't feel like splashing some real-life cash. The car customization is as it always was. I've seen people complaining that it's not more in-depth, but I've always found Forza's upgrade system to be very enjoyable. I like building cars, and I don't find much at fault with the depth of customization. Yeah, more aesthetic mods would be nice, especially ones that don't conflict with aero parts, but really there are hundreds of cars, what can you expect? Once you've got your car built up to your liking, you'll probably want to drive it. Multiplayer racing is what multiplayer racing is, and so I'm not really going to get into that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes you'll get put in a wall, it is what it is. The AI is a different story. When the game launched, AI difficulty would swing wildly from race to race. One race they'd hardly bother to drive at all, the next you'd be left in the dust without ever changing your difficulty setting. The overall difficulty was higher than previous games, though it was far from consistent. I got the idea that the AI would drive very, very quickly until you overtook them, at which point they would give up and disappear far behind you, a sort of reverse rubber banding. In co-op multiplayer races, on the other hand, that is, multiple human players racing against a field of AI cars, they often seemed to forget how to drive entirely, except for maybe a couple of them who would escape the initial chaos and were more or less impossible to catch up to. A few days ago, at the time of writing, the devs released an update that has improved all of this significantly, though I still wouldn't call the AI great. Though the difficulty levels are more appropriately balanced now, it's still not entirely consistent race to race. Still, if you've put up with the AI in previous Forza games, you can do it here too. I think it feels about the same now. If Forza's default races aren't your thing, you can make a custom event with its own car restrictions using any existing race on the map, or, for the first time in a Horizon game, you can make a custom route that starts anywhere. Previously locked to existing race start lines, custom routes have always been something I've liked making, although there's an art to it that I appear to have lost. The route that I made for this goes by the snappy title of No Name's Very Long Race That Goes Up a River. It has flowing turns. You can torture your friends with it using the share code on screen if you're a particularly sadistic individual. Horizon's not without its fair share of bugs. The most notable one for me so far is that some multiplayer races are consistently almost impossible for me to start in a convoy. People have also lost all of their progress because of server errors. It's kind of par for the course with Forza, I'm afraid. Longtime viewers will recall how I was locked out of Motorsport for an entire year after buying it. Still, although I have my gripes and grievances, quite a few of them in fact, they're mostly pretty minor and don't impact my enjoyment of the game overall. Indeed, I'm kind of surprised to find that I actually really like this game. After so many years away from the series, it's refreshing to get back into a Horizon game again. All the stuff I liked back then is still there, though admittedly most of what I disliked is too. For viewers who have played one of these games before, you already know what to expect. Forza Horizon 6 is more of what you're used to. It's well executed and fun to play. I like the cars and how they feel. I like the wide range of activities and relative freedom to play the game how I feel like playing it. I'm in favor of most of the changes made from previous Forzas. For example, I like being able to do time attack or drag racing in free roam without having to load into a race. And although my experience with the series is somewhat limited, I've seen others calling this the best Horizon yet. I miss some of the more memorable locations from 4, Edinburgh was just a better city for me, and I liked the sand dunes by the castle, but Japan is just fine, and I'm sure I'll get attached to it too after a while. I like Forza Horizon 6, and I think you will too. So what's with that title? I really do like it. I think it's a very fun game, I really enjoy playing it, and if you can, I think you should buy it. This is an actual, entirely sincere recommendation for the game. This video is what it is not because I don't know how I feel about it, but because I feel like I shouldn't feel that way. The Horizon games I'm familiar with are all essentially repackaged versions of each other. This may or may not be true from a technical standpoint, I'm not sure how much code, if any, is reused from game to game, but as a player and an observer, they certainly feel that way. Change a few cars, change the map. This is the same game I played years ago when I picked up Forza Horizon 4. One of the first things I noticed as soon as I started playing was that a few of the roads and features felt so much like Horizon 4 that I wondered if they'd been lifted straight from that game and placed in this one. The core mechanics are all the same. The car lists overlap massively. The sounds, the style, the tone, all effectively identical. The new stuff amounts to nearly nothing. The game plays things straight, it plays them well, but it plays them safe. Forza is a franchise on rails, it once held aloft and held back by its prior successes and its apparent target demographic of every possible human being. Take the car gifting, for example. You can gift cars in this game if you don't want them, and the narration praises you for doing so, but it goes out of its way to tell you how you should feel good about it, as if you need the game's permission to feel good about helping someone else. When you gift a car, or receive one for that matter, you're prompted to send a message to the player on the other end. You don't get to write your own message, though, because the devs are scared that someone might write some bad words. Won't someone think of the children? So you're forced to choose from a few pre-written statements, like sending someone a greeting card in place of a real conversation. The same is true of the quick chat. The game doesn't have a built-in chat of any kind, instead it has Forza Link, which allows you a few ready-made blurbs of your choosing, from a list, of course. Everything's predefined, and so to have any personality at all, one must resort to something like an old sarcastic classic. Although the game has plenty of characters in its story events, all very safe and friendly and polite, they all have the personality and dimension of a cardboard cutout, serving only to guide the player and fill dead air. At best, you'll ignore them, at worst, they're actively annoying. Why does Larry need me to take his photos anyway? He's right there in the crane with a camera. I can see him. I think the Forza games are the way that they are because they're designed for mass appeal. They can't take any risks because that might alienate someone. Better to keep things flashy to attract those with short attention spans like moths to a bright light, but bland so there's nothing angular, nothing harsh, nothing to dislike. Forza is the cheap elevator music your dentist plays over the phone while you're on hold, or maybe a 2.5-minute pop song with electronic drums and all the life auto-tuned out of the vocal. It's a Marvel superhero movie. It's plain white sandwich bread. And after all, who doesn't like plain white bread? All of these things have their detractors, of course, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a specific critique that goes beyond a sort of resentment for how repetitive, stale, unoriginal, and safe these things are. It's a sort of meta-critique, you see. A critique not of the object itself, but of its broader context and the intent of its creation. That's why I feel kind of funny about liking this game. It's hard to shake my feeling that the game is creatively shallow, a cash grab meant only to milk more money from an audience that has largely been in Forza's pastures for quite a while already. I'm cynical enough to see the much slower economy and wonder if it's just a way to tempt people into buying car vouchers. While I don't doubt that the devs love what they do, and I'm not calling them lazy as individuals, I think the nature of Forza being a big studio franchise kind of forces them to do what'll make the most money, as opposed to what is the most creatively true. Maybe this matters to you, maybe it doesn't. It's worth thinking about, though. What if the car list was completely identical to one of the previous games? What about the map? Where's the line? The answer will be different for all of us, but it doesn't sit entirely right with me that the formula is so set in stone that the biggest difference with any new Forza release is that you have to buy it again. I've published 2 game reviews before this one, The Crew Motorfest and Forza Motorsport. You wouldn't know it looking at those comment sections today, the worst of it has sifted to the bottom like marine snow or otherwise been filtered out, but I apparently upset quite a lot of people with those. It's not lost on me that both of these games are in the same sphere as Horizon 6, and so very likely the same sort of people who watch those reviews will be checking this one out as well. Feel free to belittle, insult, or threaten, it's great for the algorithm, but let's all be on the same page this time. I'm on your side for once. I think. I don't know, I can't really believe I'm saying this, but go buy Forza Horizon 6 if you've been looking at it. It's a very good game, if a little stale, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it very much. As for me, I've got a festival playlist to work on, and maybe a white bread sandwich to eat. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.